Good afternoon, friends. My name is Mr. Reality from Reality Forecast, and I'm joined with psychic medium Liz Cross. Liz, how are you?
I'm scared of this probe, but go ahead.
This was a popular request, and you put it on your Patreon, patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond. If you want to follow Liz and get access to the things that are not publicly listed on YouTube, that's the place to go.
Be there or be square, right?
So in 1943, the Navy allegedly made a ship disappear, and it was the USS Eldridge. And I've read a lot about this. I know a lot about this, and we have some questions from your listeners. And wondered if we could bring in the energy of the USS Philadelphia experiment in U.S. Navy from 1943. And we have some people to bring in too.
Oh, great. Okay. So I do have the ship here. Excuse me.
It's in your room. My God, that must take up a lot of space.
It minimized itself to fit.
I hope it's micronized. So was this an actual physical event that occurred?
Was this an actual physical event? Well, which part? What are we asking exactly?
We're asking if the ship disappeared and reappeared somewhere else, or transmuted itself, or went all wonky wookie.
Did this ship actually it teleported?
That's an awesome thing to be able to do.
It wasn't easy though.
Okay. Does the ship have an energy or an emotion or feeling about that event and about life in general?
Do you have an emotional energy? It likes being mysterious. It likes that it's a subject that's talked about.
Is it a single entity, or is it an amalgam of the mast has an energy, the railings have an energy, the steel has an energy, the windows have an energy?
Oh yes, you can break all those down and they have individual consciousness, but as a whole, it is an amalgamation. Yes.
Okay. It's no longer existing. It was broken down. So, but it has confirmed that it was an actual event. How did
People
it feel
died.
as an entity when that happened to it?
People died. I get that. It just told me people died.
Does it collect or pick up on that energy that people died?
Yes, and it feels bad about it. That wasn't supposed to happen.
Well, sometimes things do. Let's bring in the energy of Carlos Allende. Carlos Allende was someone that kind of spilled the beans on the Philadelphia experiment. Let's see if I can pull up a picture of him. I don't know if I can, because there was some confusion that he was actually Morris K. Jessup, but let's see if I can pull up an image of him for you. I don't think that's him. I don't know. I can't find Carlos Allende, but it says this is Carlos Allende. Can we pull in the energy of this character here, this fellow here?
Carlos Allende. Okay.
So did you actually witness, or were you in contact with someone that witnessed the Philadelphia experiment?
He was used as a scapegoat, this guy.
Oh. What was your understanding of the scientific principles behind the Philadelphia experiment?
What were your... Hold on, they used me. What do you mean they used you? They used him to put the word out. So did they tell you? Did you witness it? He witnessed something, but they used him as like the messenger to put it out to the world.
Did you personally know any of the crew members on board the Eldridge or the the USS Eldridge?
Did you know? Yes, yes, I feel he did. Yes.
Can you share what they shared with you about their experience as they were teleported?
Chair. Their bodies disappeared, but their consciousness remained intact.
Did you witness it or were you just told about it by those members?
Did you witness it? No, he heard. He's telling me he witnessed something else, but he heard about it.
What did you witness?
What did what did you witness? It was very, very strange. It was as if you felt like you disappeared or you were taken, he's saying, like off the realm of the planet.
What was his interact? What was it? Was he involved with the military, either the Navy, or was he just given the stories to send the message out?
Were you just given the well, he was given a lot of information. He was questioning it, right? And he was given a lot of information.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Allende. We're going to bring in Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the president of the United States from 1918, well, forever, last president to be elected three times. Mr. Roosevelt, did you authorize the Philadelphia experiment and were you aware of it?
Did you authorize the Philadelphia experiment? No. Were you aware of it? After the fact.
What was your knowledge of non human extraterrestrials during your administration?
They were a threat. We were being inundated and invaded. They were a real threat to us and society.
What did you think about the USS Eldridge Philadelphia experiment, and what did they tell you had happened?
What did they tell you? What did you think about it? He thought it was amazing, but the military orchestrated this.
Did he want more of it to happen, or did he say, let's pull that back?
Did you want more of it? Yes, if there was a way to do it safely, absolutely. You can actually like teleport your troops and your equipment into battle zones without anybody knowing your movement. So you would just show up and, take out the enemy, he says, and then leave very quickly in a flash.
Has
But let me give this to you. But they couldn't master it.
has FDR incarnated since passing away?
Have you incarnated since passing away? Yes.
Is he incarnated now?
Are you incarnated now? No.
What is the current state of the United States' ability to teleport? Since they tried it in 43, that was a lot of years ago. Where are we at now, 80 years later?
What is the current state of being able to tell? They have the technology. They know how to do it, but they just don't. It's too dangerous. If you teleport and you lose a whole crew, you may not be able to get them back. It's not perfect by any means.
But we have autonomous drones now. Why can't we teleport those in and then bring them, teleport them back out?
Ooh, but we have autonomous drones now. They do experiment with them.
Does he
They've
understand?
lost, sorry, let me, they've lost a lot of good men and good equipment. So it really has to be supervised and it has to be approved in order to do these experiments. They've lost fleets of military equipment doing this, and they don't even know where they've gone. That's something for you. That's something for you to remote view.
Yeah, well, if he'd like to tell us one of the things that they're missing, I can find it. Admiral Ernest J. King was chief naval officer during the time of 1943 and for a long time. I wonder if we can bring in his energy and ask him about his knowledge and experiment with USS Eldridge.
Oh, yes, he's here. He's here.
Admiral King, thank you for your service. How did the alleged outcomes of the Philadelphia experiment influence naval strategy?
it was a total PR disaster. And it was really about how did all of this information get leaked out? How will we stop it from being leaked out? Because they were running experiments all the time.
What was this experiment actually, precisely?
It was the ability to teleport.
Whose idea was this?
A group
Tesla,
of,
Edison, mad scientists?
yeah, a group of scientists. Yes.
How many men were involved on the ship that dematerialized?
So how many men were like, because there's all sorts of talk about people being stuck in metal, and
Right.
was that true? Yes, that was true.
Was this experiment repeated or was it only done once?
How was this? They tried it again.
Can you tell us how many men died on the ship that dematerialized the first time?
How many men died that didn't oh, the first, quite a lot, actually. There's a lot that aren't spoken about, um, but quite a lot.
How many of them, what was the ratio of survivors to non survivors?
What was the ratio of survivors? There was more survivors, but they were never the same again after that.
What happened to some of the people that didn't survive? Were they really embedded in the metal of the ship?
Some just disappeared without a trace. Um, yes, they were.
What happened in his understanding to the USS Eldridge during the experiment and after the experiment? And how long did it last?
What happened to the USS Eldridge during the it was a failed experiment. It basically was using a mathematical tunnel to go from one place to another and okay, traveling through that tunnel. Now, let me ask this. Does that mean that you guys have figured out the like hidden tunnels that humans and souls travel in and out of? Yes, it does. So was that what you were trying to do? Was you mathematically created a tunnel to go from one place to another, or was the tunnel already there? No, they created it. Okay. You know how like souls travel in and out of the earth plane, when they're coming in, they come down a tunnel, and then when they leave, they're leaving by a tunnel. They've actually figured out the technology to create a tunnel. And but instead of it going up and down, from spirit, earth plane to spirit world, it's to be kept on the earth plane and to be used sort of, sideways as opposed to up and down. And they figured that out. He's telling me a long time ago. They
How
figured
long ago and how?
how long ago? This was figured out in the 1800s, and it was experimented with. There was a lot of teleportation experimentation back then, and it was very successful. And is it a simple calculation? Yes, it is. For the most part, it's a simple mathematical calculation.
Scotty,
And
beam me up. We'll have to
yeah,
work on that transportation model, but did he physically witness this experiment or did he read about it?
Did you physically, were you there? No, he wasn't there, but he was listening the whole time, right? So the problem was they miscalculated how much energy the ship required in order to move through the tunnel. They thought that the ship would automatically morph itself into whatever energy, shape shift into whatever energy it needed to in order to make it down the tunnel. But they did some miscalculations. That's not how it worked. And also, they were using metal. They were putting tangible objects through this tunnel. Normally, these tunnels are reserved for non-tangible objects. So the human soul, as it were. But I'm saying, but human bodies are tangible objects. So when you were moving human bodies, or when they were doing this back in the 1800s and they were teleporting, I mean, that's a human, that's an object. Yes, but it's also, it can morph a lot easier because it has biological qualities. Non-biological qualities do not fit so well in these tunnels.
Can they transport biological materials across planetary distances and interstellar distances, like on Stargate?
Can you? No, they're working on it. Right now, it still has to be done via a vessel, which is nearly impossible to do because everything's so far away. We're bound by space and time. You're going to have to do it with a few generations in order to get them there. And so maybe it won't be the generation driving the ship. It could be the generation, or even the generation after that, that gets to the planet of where it's going. And hopefully they're trained enough to make it back. And of course, that's going to take even more generations. So basically, anybody who's going up there to those other planets, it's a death sentence. That's it. Your life is done.
What were the technological forces and energy created during the project, and how can I make them in my basement?
What were the technological forces? It was done by it was like a computer machine, a machine. It was generating the tunnel.
But we're talking 1943 technology here.
Mm-hmm.
Were they giant Tesla coils? Were they? I have sessions that show what these devices look like to create these portals. So, what energy were they putting into it? Was it electromagnetic energy? Was it
No, it wasn't electromagnetic. I feel like
scalar energy?
oh, was it scalar? No, but I feel like it was like a sender and a receiver, right? Now, was the sender on the ship? Yes. So the sender was on the front of the ship and the receiver was somewhere else. I feel the receiver was on another ship. So it was supposed to come and end up just before that second ship. But obviously that didn't happen. Did anything happen to the second ship? No. But the people disappeared.
What was the personal mental cost to you about this experiment?
Having to tell the families where their loved ones had gone.
No, you don't tell them that. You just say they died in the line of service. I wonder if we can bring in Nikola Tesla and ask him some questions about the experiment.
Okay. Yes.
I think he passed away before it finished. He passed away in January of 1943. This happened after his death. So, Nikola Tesla, are you familiar with, or were you in the Philadelphia experiment?
Were you familiar with the? Yes, he watched it from a distance. And were they using your technology? No, I don't feel that they were using his technology.
What were they doing? How did they do it?
How did they do it? They created their own tunnel frequency.
And how did they generate that?
How did they generate that? They used a device. It's very large. As I see it, he's showing it to me. It's very. This thing is not small. Almost looks like a bit like the old satellite dishes. You remember how big they were, the like the saucers, and kind of like that.
Does he know where the men disappeared to?
No, no. Did they ever turn up in the spirit world? No. So their souls are where? They're lost. Have they been taken by the dark? No. They're trapped in a dimension that no one can access.
It's an unfun place to be. Were they
They
using
can't
any
get
Tesla
out.
coils?
Did they use Tesla coils? I don't feel that they used the Tesla coils, but I do feel that they used something similar to that.
What would you like future generations to understand about the Philadelphia experiment and maybe the dangers of it?
What do you want the future generations to understand about Florida? That it is teleportation is possible, but it's extremely risky. Um, Let me ask this question. Would the safest option be to learn remote viewing and just use your consciousness to time travel? Absolutely. So there you go, Mr. Reality.
I wonder if we can bring in some of the crew members as a whole from the Philadelphia experiment, the ones that survived, ask them some questions.
It changed them forever. They felt like their DNA was scrambled.
What did they observe and how long was the experience as they teleported?
What did you observe? They were just thrown into blackness. It was just pitch black. It was, they couldn't see. You see, this is the problem. Okay. I totally get what they're trying to tell me. So we have body parts, right? We are shut off from being able to be all knowing. So therefore, we get glimpses of through things, information through body parts. We see, we smell, we taste, we hear, we touch. But they were propelled into a place that only something with all knowing could survive. They were put into total blackness. They lost their bodies. Their consciousness was in this vacuum, this tunnel, and they didn't know how to reattach their consciousness to the body. It became totally separated. So they're telling me that somehow it's like their body magically appeared and then their consciousness then traveled and got back into the body. But even when you astral travel or you have an OBE, right? There's something that pulls you back into your body.
Right.
But they
A
had
silver
worked
cord.
out, okay, so the silver cord. But they had worked out the technology to completely sever the two. And there was no cord to bring them back. The fact that they ended up back in their bodies is quite amazing.
Did they see other crew members on board the ship that were transmogrified or pushed into the body of the ship?
That was the nightmare. Yes, they saw that. Yes. And it was terrifying to them, but they were still in shock. They didn't even know what was going on.
What did it do to their eyes and their ability to live after this experiment?
Everything was scrambled after that.
Did they ever have any medical exams or were they discharged?
Did you have any medical exams? Yes, they had extensive medical and psychological examinations.
did they have trouble with subsequent? This is, if we could pick one guy, I don't know whose name you want to grab, but grab one of them and ask if how has this changed his progression of future incarnations? Does
He
he
never
heal
wants.
from this, or is this going to be?
No, he never wants to be a part of any experiments like this ever again or anything woo.
Does he know what happened to some of his Patriot companions that didn't make it out?
No, he doesn't know what happened to him. They were just gone forever. But as Tesla, I believe it's Tesla we were talking to, or maybe the captain, but they're stuck in a dimension, they're trapped, and it's an unused dimension. It's like a spare dimension that's there.
It's a
If
pocket
people,
universe.
yeah, it really is. Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. A pocket universe. There's nothing there.
Is there any way for? I don't want you to get trapped. I don't want our viewers to get trapped in a pocket universe because trust me, it's not fun. It's all wonky, weird, wild. But is there any way to figure out how to uncouple them from that pocket universe?
Can I uncouple them from that pocket universe? No. Can anyone unpocket them? They will need Source really to go in and save them, but let's ask Source, are you going to go in and save them? No, it's off limits. He can't even save them, right? I think people have been fed too much religion, and they think that their idea of Source is Source can do anything, and Source is all loving, and Source is this, and Source is that, right? That's the human interpretation.
Oh, anthropomorphizing source.
But Source is still bound by universal law, and Source still has people or hierarchy to answer to. Source is just one tidbit in a large grid of universes, right? So this misinterpretation of that Source can really just circumvent universal law is, it's not happening, folks. I'm sorry, it just isn't. So that I'm saying, well, what can be done? The only saving grace for these souls that are trapped in this pocket universe is that when we complete the cycle of this universe and it completely dissolves, then their souls will dissolve with it. They'll no longer be trapped, but then they'll no longer be able to move forward. They're not going to move forward into the next universe because, as we've already discovered, the next universe is made up with one chosen source to be Source, right? So someone that is elected, a soul that is elected to be Source, then, and part of being Source is being bound and respecting those laws of the universe, not having an abuse of power.
Don't step into the transporter, folks.
You're not kidding.
Nicola Tesla, Admiral Morris K. Jessup, Carlos Allende, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and members of the Philadelphia and USS Eldridge experiment. We thank you for answering those questions for us. And Liz, thank you for bringing them forth.
Uh, like one of those balls that you touch your hand to and all the electric things are
Yeah, the
gravitate.
Illuminastorm.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh, similar to that. That's what I feel like my brain is doing right now. It's having an luminous storm. I'm like, my brain is fried. We definitely need to have questions about that particular pocket universe and probe whether there are other souls trapped in other pocket universes. That just blows my mind. It really does. I've never come across that before.
Well, hopefully we can get them out sometime, but I don't know. I don't want to get trapped. I've got
Yeah.
other universes to visit and other planets to visit. So thank you very much for your questions, everybody. Again, patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond. Find Liz there, and we appreciate you watching and listening.
And don't forget, Mr. Reality has a tip jar. These questions are amazing. He put this together. You know, you got to think on your feet when you're an interviewer, right? You got to be able to go with the flow and constantly come up with questions and direct the interview as the answers are coming out. So I think you did an amazing job. And please show your love to Mr. Reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.